This video is powered by BetUS. The Chicago Bears' perfect opportunity to attack the trenches. Another big offseason is staring us in the face, and all signs point towards the Chicago Bears being big time spenders in this year's free agency period. But it all starts in the trenches. And both Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson spoke to the media today from this year's NFL Combine. I wanted to cover some of the comments they made as well as talk about how this offseason is lining up perfectly for the Bears to attack the trenches in 2025. Something Ryan Poles spoke about himself. He went on a whole spiel about supply and demand, pretty much in response to all the people saying he built this team backwards. He said, "Look, you can have philosophical beliefs in how you build a football team and what positions to prioritize first, but the supply has to meet the needs, and those opportunities have to present themselves." This is something that I've talked about numerous times over the last year. It's about bringing in the right guys for the Chicago Bears. And then Poles would go on to talk about how this year's free agency and draft classes are both shaping up to fit the needs on this roster. And this is something that Ryan Poles has understood the entire time. He didn't luck into this. He has known about the 2025 draft class being stacked on the defensive line for at least 2+ years now. And he's also known it's a great year for the interior of the offensive line as well. We have a lot of players that fit the needs on this roster in both free agency and the upcoming NFL draft. Some fans and people in the media continue to criticize this front office for not spending more during free agency the last few years. But the plan has always been clear to build through the NFL draft, which is what the Bears have been doing. They were not building through free agency. They tore this thing down to the studs and laid the groundwork to become a winning franchise in the NFL. The foundation is in place, and now they're going to patch some holes in free agency. This is how you win in the NFL. You build through the draft and supplement talent via free agency. A lot of people will say, look at how recent teams who spent big money in free agency have fared. The Jacksonville Jaguars are the most recent example, but that's just it. That is not what the Bears are doing. That's what the media wanted the Bears to do and are criticizing them for not doing. The Bears have almost all of the key positions on this roster already filled: quarterback, left tackle, right tackle, wide receiver one, wide receiver two, tight end. We have a top defensive end in Montez Sweat. Jervon Dexter is an up and coming monster. So that's defensive end and D tackle. On top of that, both of our linebacker spots are filled. All three of our cornerback spots are filled, and both of our safety spots. This is what people simply don't seem to understand. The core of this roster has been put together over the last 3 off seasons right in front of our face by Ryan Poles. And yet every single Bears media outlet wanted to fire him just a few months ago because they simply don't understand Ryan Poles' process, period. But did you know that BetUS also has a casino? For all my followers who like slots or live casino dealers, take advantage of BetUS's amazing sign up bonus, 200% up to $5,000. Check out BetUS. But I wanted to talk more about some of the comments made by both Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles. First up, let's go over some of the comments made by Ben Johnson. The one that stood out to me the most was he talked about Ryan Poles' draft process. He said to see how well that machine is clicking and just sounded very excited about how Poles attacks the NFL draft and builds the board with the coaches and his scouts. He said the coaching staff sat down with the scouts and the personnel department and went through what the ideal athlete looks like at every single position on the roster. So basically, the coaches have gotten with the scouts and told them exactly what they are looking for at every single position. Now, with Matt Eberflus, this is something that didn't matter as much. But when you have coaches like Dennis Allen, Eric Bieniemy, and Ben Johnson on the staff, it really means a lot. They went over everything from athleticism to arm length, size, speed, and even character. The healthy dialogue between this star studded coaching staff and our scouting department is huge as we head into this important offseason. One other thing Ben Johnson talked about is he mentioned how he went outside of his comfort zone to build this staff. He didn't want to fill it with guys he knew of as his buddies. He wanted guys who could help set the tone, guys who could challenge him and bring more to the Chicago Bears. And I honestly couldn't be more impressed with Ben Johnson, and I can't wait to see how him and Ryan Poles work together to make this franchise a winner again. Make sure you listen to the presser from Ben Johnson. But now I want to talk about what else Ryan Poles said, because our GM made some interesting comments as well. He was asked about bringing in a pass rusher opposite Montez Sweat, and they asked him if signing a big time player in free agency would mean we couldn't take a DE at pick number 10. And Poles talked about the Super Bowl and how much pass rush matters. He said you could never have enough, which is true. And he said he would not rule out signing a big name in free agency and still drafting someone at pick 10. It sounds like the Bears really want to attack. It sounds like he really is focused on upgrading this defensive line. He also talked about getting another pass rusher for the interior of the D line as well. Ryan Poles is ready to attack the D line. But he also talked about upgrading the offensive line, potentially the tackle position, but definitely the interior of the O line. And he also talked about adding a running back and improving the run game overall. His statements seemed to indicate that the Bears not only plan to revamp this offensive line, but also possibly draft a running back as well. Now, before everyone jumps on the Ashton Genty train, he is not the only running back in this class. It's a special year at that position, so don't forget about guys like Caleb Johnson, Quinshawn Judkins, and Travion Henderson. But there are so many others as well. In fact, I'm going to give you two sleeper names at the running back position if you want to check out some highlights for the first time ever, some Swift Sports homework. Check out Devin Neal from Kansas and RJ Harvey from UCF. If you're aware of these guys, let me know in the comments or let me know what you think after you check out some highlights. This year is so talented at the running back position. But Ryan Poles also made it clear that the trenches are a priority and that the Bears will also get back to running the football again. He also talked with some other guys in the media like Mike Florio, and he praised Caleb Williams' talent and ability. He also said he believes he has an advantage when it comes to scouting offensive linemen, and I think it's possible we see a much improved front five in 2025. I cannot wait to see what kind of additions Ryan Poles makes to this roster. With the help of the coaching staff and Ian Cunningham still in the front office, as well as additions of guys like Ben Johnson, Dennis Allen, and Eric Bieniemy, we are ready to have a huge offseason and finally start winning football games. But the moral of the story is, like Ryan Poles said himself, this offseason is finally shaping up perfectly for the Chicago Bears. There is a surplus of talent on the defensive and offensive line as we head into the offseason, and the Chicago Bears are ready to attack the trenches and improve this roster. Let me know how you guys are feeling in the comments. Thanks again to BetUS for sponsoring this video. Please remember to hit that like button for me. Stay tuned because I have a ton of content on the way. And until next time, guys, bear down.